Aloha. My name is Henry Jolicoeur. I'm a French-Canadian psychotherapist living in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I have been to the islands of Hawaii at least 45 times in the last 40 years. Sometime living on the islands for 2 or 3 months at a time, exploring the different beaches, valleys, and mountains. I just love Hawaii. In the last few years, I have traveled to 12 countries around the world, looking for a place to retire soon. So I was really excited when I learned that Mr. Larry Ellison had bought the island of Lana'i. Just listen to what he has to say.
You love Hawaii, or what was?
I love Hawaii, and Lana'i is a very interesting project. There, what we're going to do is turn Lana'i into a model for sustainable enterprise. And what I mean by that is, on Lana'i, I own the water utility, I own the electric utility, and the electric utility is all going to be solar photovoltaic and solar thermal. We're going to convert seawater into fresh water, and then have drip irrigation, where we're going to have organic farms all over the island. Hopefully, we're going to export produce, really the best organic produce, to Japan and elsewhere in the Hawaiian Islands. We're going to support the local people and help them start these businesses. We'll have electric cars, so it's going to be a little, if you will, laboratory for sustainability in businesses of small scale.
Amazing, amazing.
Wow, that sounded so good. I'm a vegetarian for the last 45 years. I eat mainly organic foods. I'd love to live in a place where they will take care of the earth, they will have fresh air and electric cars. So I decided to go to Lana'i for 3 weeks to check it out and see if the vision of Mr. Ellison is really truth. One of the first things I noticed visiting Lana'i was all those signs around the city of Lana'i. No windmill. What? There will be windmill on Lana'i? That's right. When Mr. Ellison bought the island from Mr. David Murdoch, there was a secret agreement that Mr. David Murdoch could still build his 56 windmill that are 210 feet high and would occupy about 15% of the island. I quickly learned that 90-year-old Mr. David Murdoch was still trying to push the windmill turbines that could bring his company more than $100 million a year. Was I surprised when I arrived in Hawaii and saw advertisement in the local paper by the company of Mr. Murdoch insisting that he really wants to build those monster windmills. Chris Costales, a member of Kapahano Lana'i, which is a native Hawaiian group formed in opposition of the wind farm, said, "It's our spiritual connection. It's where you go to meditate, where you can be alone with nature. It's where, if you see a Hawaiian hall or pu'eo, it's a sign that the ancestors are crying out to watch over the land." Costales said, "This is an area where native Hawaiians have gathered for traditional religious practice for thousands of years. That's why it's so emotional. We are so connected to this land," he said. "Most people, they see it as barren land, but we see it as much more than that." Well, let's start with the Hawaiian hall. A beautiful bird that is becoming rare. It is a fact that windmill turbines kill 500,000 to 1 million birds every year in America. Installing these windmills on Lana'i will make many of the rare birds extinct. The 56 turbine would be in an area which is called Kiakawelo, which is next to an area which is called the Gardens of the Gods. I went there for many days hiking, and it is an absolutely magnificent place, free from pollutions of noise. When you sit there at night and look at the stars, you cannot find a more quiet place in all of Hawaii. Under this video, you will find various links that will direct you to an excellent documentary explaining in detail the different damages that will be caused to the island of Lana'i if these turbines are ever installed by Mr. Murdoch. The next clip is a testimonial by a young man, Nicholas Palumbo, that has lived on Lana'i most of his life. I was very touched by this young man as I watched him every morning for more than 3 weeks, running up and down the beach every morning with weight attached to his back. I learned that Nick had lost his father and his brother Tim in 2010 in a plane accident. He told me that he runs every morning for an hour or more. It helped to keep his focus and sanity.
My name's Nicholas Palumbo. Born on Oahu, live on Lana'i since, forever. My dad was a veterinarian here since 1962. I run Lana'i Surf School, been in business since 2004.
Could you explain to me why so many people are opposed to having a windmill on this island?
Yeah, I feel the reason why everyone opposes the wind farm is desecration to historical Hawaiian sites with, a lot of meaning to Hawaiian people. Other reasons are, 420-foot turbines, 180 of them on our little island, the last little piece of paradise, where you have all of these other places with their big buildings, Cheesecake Factory, and everyone else. Our island here, we're sustainable. We all have gardens. We all take care of one another. We all hunt and fish. You know, on the big island in Ka'u, there is a big wind farm, and it's abandoned. I believe a lot of the reason is there's salt air, the elements of Hawaii, you know, it's brutal, it's harsh. So you build these big wind farms that are electrical. They're exposed to salt air and wind and erosion. So you set up this big wind farm and underwater cable to Oahu to produce power for Oahu. No benefit for our little sustainable island. And in 20 years, it's dead and fried. So David Murdoch, these few guys, they benefit from it huge. Where I have 2 children, I have young children. When they're my age, are they gonna have this big industrial wasted wind plant on the northern end where there's heiau and significant Hawaiian, you know, there's people that live in Arizona, Alaska, Oregon, they're Hawaiian. They have ties to this place, spiritual ties, and although they're not here in the flesh because there's no work, it is, their ancestors are there, and you know, it just, for several people to benefit and make millions of dollars to ruin one of the last bits of raw Hawaiian, you know, historical spots, you know, it kills a lot of us. And the way it works with the monopoly with David Murdoch, when he owned the island, people were forced to be with it, because if you aren't for my wind farm, we're gonna shut these hotels down. You're not gonna have a job. You're not gonna have your nice car. You're not gonna have anything, you know, so you better be for our wind farm or move. So it scared a lot of people. So, you know, the unions here and a lot of the folks, I mean, we have a 75% Filipino population, and you know, a lot of people. For me, my dad was a veterinarian here. We own a house. I run my own business. I don't rely on that, so I can speak how I feel. But now that Larry Ellison has purchased the island, the tables has changed, and we don't know, they might be in cahoots, but I feel that more of the people here that were kind of with it because they're forced to be with it will express how they oppose it. And basically, the land, the people here, our electrical grid, you know, we don't get anything, and that's besides the point. You know, it's the desecration of Hawaiian, you know, lands. We don't know what's going to happen. David Murdoch still retains the rights to build his wind farm, you know, and we don't know if they're in cahoots. When Kurt Matsumoto became the COO, it felt as if a weight was lifted off of my back and a lot of people's backs, because Kurt is from Lana'i and we trust him. However, we don't know. I mean, they could be in cahoots. I mean, the wind farm for people on the union versus local kids and Hawaiian kids and people opposing, it started fist fights, and like it started a big division in our community to where there'd be sign wavings for the wind farm and guys who oppose of it, and then next thing you know, people are, you know, practically getting physical because it's an emotional thing, you know. So hopefully that goes away, but we don't know. I mean, we don't know.
Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop now. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop. Children, what's that sound?
I own the electric utility, and the electric utility is all going to be solar, solar photovoltaic and solar thermal.